Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. You may be thinking, I want to get into penetration testing, so how do I make myself stand out in these interviews? Well, today we'll look at one of our junior penetration testers and what made him stand out, and we'll go over his passion in game cheats, and we'll talk a bit about direct memory access. If you guys are liking what you're seeing in these videos, well, drop a like or a subscribe, and with that, let's get started.
Dave, thank you so much for coming into the studio today. It's an honor to have you. Please tell the audience a bit about yourself, your background, what kind of hacking you're interested in, and what got you into ThreatSpy.
Thank you for having me, Simon. My name is Dave. I'm an offensive security tester at ThreatSpy, and I like web applications, mobile, and I like learning about game hacking and game cheating.
Okay, cool, man. So I know we got a demo coming up later about game hacking. I know you did your dissertation on it in uni. So do you want to tell the audience a little bit about that, the thought process behind it, etc.?
So when it comes to video games, there's unfortunately a lot of people that cheat, but the cat and mouse game behind it is actually quite interesting. There's quite a few methods to cheating, and one of the more recent methods is using hardware and two computers to cheat on games. It just makes it a lot harder to detect, and people like it because they could do it in stealth, especially when streaming.
Okay, sure. So I know in your demo, you accessing a processor's memory and then altering it like that. So for instance, for the game cheat to work, were you accessing that game's processing's memory and then editing that, or how did that go? Can you walk through how it worked?
So you don't need to do any editing of the memory. Just reading it is enough. All you really need to know is where the enemies are, what their position is. So you can sort of see them through walls, have your aim automatically adjust to the enemy. So you don't need to write, you don't need to set off any alarms. You just need to read. And the read actually bypasses the CPU. So you never ask the CPU for permission. You just go straight to the RAM. So that's what makes it undetected.
How do game engines stop this from happening though?
So you can't directly see what the hardware does. So you can't see exactly what it reads, but you can see that the hardware is there. So at first, it really stumped anti-cheat developers. And then after they did some research on forums, they found that people were using hardware to get around a software solution. So this is when kernel-level anti-cheat started coming in, and that's really more invasive. But you can see what hardware is running, and it sort of started from there.
And now, what is the current anti-cheat landscape like? If you wanted to make a cheat for a game, what would you start looking at?
Okay, so just to give you a quick timeline, they started with hardware cheats, and then anti-cheat developers realized, right, so now we need to look out for this weird sort of generic hardware that's connected there. So on your computer, you have PCIe slots. So that's used for M.2 storage, graphics cards, network cards if your motherboard doesn't have Wi-Fi. And you can also use that for DMA cards. So what DMA cards do is they do direct memory access. That's what lets you read the memory without being detected by the CPU. So then they started realizing this card is some generic card. It's not a network card. So we're going to block it. We're going to take off its bus mastering so it's not able to make requests on the bus. And from there, it just became a cat and mouse game of, we've detected this. Oh, okay, now we'll do this to not be detected, and so on and so forth.
Okay, cool, man. And if somebody was starting out and they wanted to specialize in game hacking or get started in that, what would you recommend, like how to get started in that?
Forums. So surprisingly, so making cheats is really lucrative. It's actually $1 million industry. And the interesting thing is people are actually really open with how they develop their cheats. So there's a bunch of forums out there where you can learn from people and message people, and they'll be more than happy to share this information with you.
Do you have any that you could list, or is it all secretive and underground?
The big, most popular one is called Unknown Cheats. So that's just open. You can just Google it and you can find it. So making cheats isn't illegal, but it is against terms of service. So you probably wouldn't want to use your same username on the cheat forum as you would on your Steam account.
Okay, cool. And now, do you want to sum up quickly, like, what's next for Dave? What are you looking at in terms of your own professional development? What are you interested in? Are you going to go down the path of game hacking or specialize in a different type of hacking field?
I think hardware hacking is quite interesting. I think it's quite untapped. I think a lot of the focus right now is on software, and I still think there's a lot of potential for DMA. DMA is actually used in a lot of things, data centers, high performance networking, because you really lose a lot of the overhead, a lot of the performance overhead caused by having to go through the CPU. So DMA has a really big place in high performance computing and data centers. And I think it's quite an interesting thing to research because it's not very well protected, because the whole reason it's so powerful is because it's unrestricted, is because it has access to all of this memory. And with all the growing amount of data centers and stuff around the world now, I think it's quite an important thing to look at the security of.
Okay, awesome, Dave. Well, thank you so much. And I'm so excited to get into the demo. So let's cut to that.
I wanted to showcase how you can use hardware to bypass kernel-level anti-cheat. So people like winning. People like winning games. Sometimes you're just bad at a game. So the only way for you to win is to cheat. That's what a lot of people do. People don't like playing against cheaters, so we have anti-cheat. Now, here's a few types of cheats. You have your aimbot, which aims for you. Triggerbots shoots for you automatically when you're aiming over an enemy. And extra sensory perception. So this is stuff like the enemy's position, where they are through the walls, stuff like that. So the purpose of this dissertation was not to make the best cheat ever. It was just to demonstrate how you can bypass software anti-cheat with a hardware solution. So for my cheat, I went for a radar cheat, which looks something like this. It essentially shows you where the enemies are, where items are, what sections are blocked off by, say, smoke grenades, fire grenades, whatever. And so I decided to make it a DMA cheat for that hardware purpose. So here is a diagram showing the general layout of a DMA cheat and how it works. So essentially, you have your game running on your main computer, and then your cheat and all of the calculations running on a separate computer. So here you have this DMA card, which means direct memory access, connected through PCIe. So this is how you connect your network cards, your graphics cards. And essentially what it does is it reads your computer's memory directly without consulting the CPU, sorry. And then it passes that information onto your laptop through a USB. All the processing is done here on this laptop. And then to get out any video output, it would go through something called a fuser, where it takes the output of your game and the output of your cheat, and it turns it into one video signal that then gets sent to your monitor. This is because some anti-cheat takes screenshots every now and then they pass that through AI or a manual review, and that will show if there's any cheats running on your computer. But of course, since the cheat is coming through a separate HDMI signal and not on the actual computer the game is on, that will not be visible in the screenshot. And then to get stuff like keyboard and mouse input, use something called a KM box, which is the same concept. It takes your inputs from your keyboard and your mouse, and it adds a little something extra from the cheat software. So for your mouse, some adjustments to your aim. For your keyboard, maybe have a macro for a certain movement. And essentially, this makes it look like that input is coming directly from your hardware instead of having some virtual hardware doing those inputs, which would be detected by anti-cheat. So in this way, all of the calculations, all of the changes, all of the actions are done in an entirely different, on an entirely different machine, meaning that this will not be picked up by the anti-cheat. So what can you do? You can, because you can't see what the hardware, what the device is doing, the DMA card, you now have to check the integrity of that card, if it's legitimate or not. So checking the integrity of a card means, what kind of card is it? Is it a network card? Is it behaving like one? Its configuration, the signature it's putting out. Is it a genuine legitimate card or just a card masquerading as one? So we'll get into this later. But for now, let's talk about my cheat. So I made a simple radar cheat because, again, the purpose wasn't to make the best cheat. It was just to show how you can read memory without getting caught. So it's essentially just a simple radar. It reads what map you're on. It throws up the correct mini map in the background, and then it shows where your teammates are, their assigned colors, and where the enemies are, and who died where. So all valuable intel. And you could center it around a specific player. Obviously, you'd center it around yourself. And essentially what that means is you're always pointing up, the map rotates around you, just like the minimap in-game. You throw this up on your second monitor or on your laptop, and you have all the information you need. So you see in this case, my teammates are going down the middle. I can see that there's one enemy down the middle, but there's 4 enemies going to this site in particular. So at this point with this information, I could tell my teammates, hey, you know, you can push up here, the enemies are coming, watch out, don't go there. Oh, they're looking at that angle, but you can go this other way, whatever. So this is clearly an unfair advantage, but it doesn't get picked up by the anti-cheat because it's going through direct memory access. For the purpose of this cheat, I decided to make it a web application. What this means is you can essentially port forward, share your IP address and your port with your friends whom you trust, and then they get the same cheat output on their computer without actually having to run the cheat themselves. So essentially, they're able to go on this menu, select themselves, and have the minimap rotate about their location and their icon, essentially making this a shareable cheat where other people can cheat without being detected or needing any hardware. Now, earlier we mentioned ways to detect this. So initially when DMA cheats came out, they were undetectable. Anti-cheat developers were like, what's going on? And then they realized what's happening, and they started fingerprinting these devices, and they noticed that they are generic cards, or they're not official cards, such as a NIC you might have from Gigabyte. So then cheat makers went, all right, well, we are going to change the configuration space header to the correct device ID, the correct vendor ID, and everything else needed to make it look like it's a valid card that should be accessed in memory. So then anti-cheat developers went, all right, you're reporting you're one of these cards, but do you behave like one? So they send probes to these cards, and then more advanced firmware would come out to emulate that behavior, and so on and so forth. Now we're at the stage where, due to the timing differences between a cheat reading from the memory and all that information going to the laptop and then responding, anti-cheat developers have found a way to measure the time it takes for that card to make the memory access request and compare that to the amount of time it will take a legitimate device to make the same request. So for example, a network card might take nanoseconds, 20 nanoseconds to make some request, but your cheat card might take 100. That is a big discrepancy. So now people are writing even more advanced firmware to more accurately emulate behavior and response times. And this is pretty much where we're at now. A lot of these developments have been done by Riot Games on Vanguard. That game is notorious for being difficult to cheat on, and it's just a constant cat and mouse game. So a lot of people are constantly investing money and developing new firmware for cheating. All right, so now for a practical demo on direct memory access, I'm going to be using my laptop to read my computer's memory. Specifically, I'm going to open up Notepad on my computer, type a little message, and show you how I can retrieve it from the laptop. So the laptop is connected via USB-C to a DMA cable, which is plugged into the computer via PCIe. And I'm going to use some software called memprocfs. So this is memory process file system. What it does is it maps the memory of all of the applications on the computer into a little file system. So you'll see what I mean by that. So we're going to mount it to drive M. Here we go. And there's multiple ways you can search for your processes. I'm just going to go for name because it's the easiest. Now I'm going to open Notepad on the computer and paste a little message in. So we'll do, please subscribe. And now I'm going to refresh the list here. Okay, we have Notepad. We're going to go into its virtual memory. Now you see we have a bunch of hex files here, and they all correspond to different parts of the memory. So you see we have the heap, font cache, we have the stack. Now this information will be saved in the heap. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open this folder up in CMD and have a little script I wrote just to speed things up. So mem search hex, we want everything containing heap in its name, and we're going to look for the word subscribe. So what this will do is it will find any relevant files that contains the word subscribe in it and open it up in impex. So Notepad stores this information in UTF-16 little endian. So we're going to search for all strings in that format. We're just going to write the word subscribe. Here we go. Here's our text in Notepad accessed from the laptop. Just a small demonstration, but you can see if you make any changes here. So if I open the file directly, so this means it will update in imhex as I'm making changes here. Say I swap around Clint. If I search again to subscribe, you'll now see it's changed to please subscribe, Clint. There's some artifacts here left over from changing the text. Information isn't really deleted, it's only overwritten. Yeah, this is how you can live see the memory on a computer from another device.
If you like what you saw in this video, reach out to Dave on LinkedIn and ask him more questions about game cheats and direct memory access. I'm sure he'll be thrilled to answer any other questions you may have. And with that, if you are interested in watching some other great video from us, if we have any great videos, then it'll be on the screen above.